More games are skipping Xbox. Xbox permanently dropped these prices. This new update will save you tons of time. Check out this new controller. Let's discuss. What's up, guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is constantly working to keep you up to date on all things Xbox. I talk about the latest news going on in the Xbox world. I give some Xbox tips and tricks. I talk some game reviews. I have guests on the channel. We had Austin Evans on the channel a couple of weeks ago. We've had Richard Horvitz on the channel, the voice of Rasputin Aquato from Psychonauts. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you consider maybe subscribing to the channel, maybe not, but I'd appreciate it if you did. First let's talk about another controller I just got. This bad boy is the Remix Special Edition Xbox controller. They released this as part of an Earth Day celebration just recently. Xbox was kind enough to send one of these my way, so big shout out to them. Thank you so much. This is kind of what it looks like out of the box. First off, the big thing about this controller is that it is more in line with this whole sustainability thing that Xbox has going on right now for itself. It's made out of up to 30% of recycled and reused materials. And the front of this controller, I'm a big fan of. You got like the dark forest green mixed in with like the lime Mountain Dew green, I don't know, and it even has that extra like brighter green on the guide button in the middle of this controller. Then we have the gray thumbsticks and the YBXA buttons and the start, select, and share buttons. I kind of like that design choice. It keeps it from being too loud. Then you go over to the back side of the controller, and then this is the more interesting part of this controller. This kind of tan, khaki kind of handle they got going on here. It has these raised grooves. They're kind of like topography lines. And apparently these are unique to every controller that they have, because I'm pretty sure this is the recycled part of the controller. And those lines, that topographic kind of feel, extend to the bumpers and the triggers. It's actually kind of cool. But then you go on over to the back. I'm not crazy about the colors on the back, guys. I'm sorry. They nailed it with the front. And then on the back, it's kind of got this like, I wouldn't even know what to call it. It's like a kind of blue-green fusion and then a gray battery pack. I feel like if they did this front part exactly how it exists right now, the green on green and the gray, and then for the whole back, they just did this tan kind of khaki situation, this would be a slam dunk of a controller. But, you know, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how often do you see the back of your controller, right? When you're playing, you're facing it head on. You're not like doing all sorts of crazy stuff that would reveal the back of the controller. I guess when you set it down, you can kind of see the bottom of that blue-green fusion, whatever color it is. But yeah, I feel like they tried to do too much. Green on the front, brown, tan on the back. It's not the most offensive thing. I'm just not crazy about it. Along with this controller, you also get a rechargeable battery pack, which is nice. It goes along with like, hey, instead of using a million AA batteries, why don't you just use this one rechargeable pack, save some turtles. It would be cool to see rechargeable battery packs in Xbox controllers going forward, but I feel like they would have to raise the price of the standard wireless controller. I don't know if this is just in my head, but this kind of feels a little bit lighter than the standard wireless Xbox controller. It definitely has a different feel to it. It might just be in my head. I might be going crazy. I don't know, guys, but that's how it feels right off the bat, my first impressions. The Remix controller is available now. You can go ahead and buy it through either the Microsoft Store or any other major retailer, GameStop, Amazon. It is a little bit more expensive than a standard controller. It's $85. But remember, this is like a limited edition, special edition kind of deal, and you get the rechargeable battery pack. Thanks again to Xbox for sending this my way. Next up, we got an update for anyone who is on PC using the Xbox app. As part of this update, you can now sort your game library by the shortest amount of time to complete the game versus the longest amount of time. It's nothing too crazy, but as you get older, I feel like I start to appreciate those small things more and more. It's like, okay, I only have a little bit of time to play any game, whether it's because I've been working or I have to travel for family obligations. It's like, okay, what can I knock out in like a day or two? Or it's like, okay, I have a little bit more time. I have like 4 or 5 days to play something a little bit longer. Maybe I'll tackle one of these games that it takes a little bit longer to beat. They also added accessibility filters to all PC games. So if you're like, okay, I need to play a game that reads me the in-game menu, you can sort by that and it'll show you all the games that have that feature. I got a new gaming laptop, so I've been spending a little bit more time on the PC side of things, which is kind of cool because that's another part of the Xbox ecosystem I don't have as much experience with. I shifted over to playing Chivalry 2 on PC, And it is, guys, the keyboard and mouse, you know, it's not an advantage in all games, but it's definitely an advantage in Chivalry 2. I could do things on my mouse and keyboard that I can never do on my controller on my Xbox console. I'm also playing Pillars of Eternity, which again, that is way better on a keyboard and mouse than it is when I tried it on a controller. I know the experience isn't perfect on the Xbox app on PC, and I'm starting to kind of see the limitations of using the Xbox launcher versus just Steam, but the Xbox app on Windows is definitely way better than when I tried it out like a year or two ago. Hopefully they'll continue to add little things like this and continue to build up that experience, because honestly, it's nice. Like, it was really nice to transfer over my copy of Chivalry 2 that I bought over to my PC, no extra charge, and I get to keep all my progress. So having all my stuff within that Xbox ecosystem is nice. So I hope they continue to work on the PC portion of their business. And yes, that includes making sure that games run well on PC whenever they launch. You can't go around saying, oh man, we love PC, it's like a huge untapped market for us, and then release Redfall and there's a bunch of bugs, there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening. Can't have that, guys. Next up, we do have a little bit of bad news that we have to get into. Apparently, more games are skipping the Xbox platform. This all started with a rumor that Special Nick discussed. He claims that he has a source that says that the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is having its own PlayStation showcase and has some sort of exclusivity attached to it. Then he goes on to say that his source thinks his source is not 100% sure. But then Jez Corden over at Windows Central followed up with his own tweet. He said, yeah, I've heard kind of similar things regarding the Metal Gear franchise. Then he goes on to say that Sony, PlayStation, they struck a deal with Konami that'll give them similar exclusivity rights to games like Silent Hill, Castlevania, in addition to the Metal Gear games. Now, obviously, this is just in the rumor stage right now. These aren't like hardcore facts. But usually, guys, where there is smoke, there is fire. This is annoying for a number of reasons. So if it's a money hat situation, Sony is, you know, reaching these deals to have this exclusivity window on PlayStation and keep them off other consoles, yeah, that's annoying. But truthfully, guys, Xbox does it too. They used to be really aggressive with this in the 360 era, but it's annoying when both of them do it. There was that weird Tomb Raider situation back in the Xbox One generation, where Xbox had a timed exclusivity deal on the second game in the Crystal Dynamics franchise. So anyone who played the first one on PlayStation 4 was like, okay, can't play the second one. What's going on with that? If you're an Xbox fan, you have, I'm sure, good memories of playing Knights of the Old Republic on your OG Xbox, and I'm sure you were looking forward to the remake, the reboot that was going on, only to be disappointed that PlayStation has a timed exclusivity deal on that game as well. I don't know what's going on with that game. We haven't heard anything about it, but my point still stands. The difference is that I feel like when Xbox does these time deals, they don't seem to work out as well for them as they do for PlayStation. For example, PlayStation had a year of exclusivity for Deathloop. People seemed to really like that game. They were like, okay, we're gonna nominate it for Game of the Year. And then Xbox is like, oh yeah, we're gonna make Redfall exclusive because it's a first-party game. And it's like, ooh, didn't really work out in the same way. Same thing with their third-party stuff that they try to work out deals with. They're like, okay, we're gonna have a timed exclusivity deal on Ark 2. And then they're like, just kidding, we're not gonna see that game until 2025 at the soonest. Soonest, I don't know if that's a word, but y'all get my point. I'm not saying that every timed exclusive deal that PlayStation does is a banger. I feel like it works out more often for them than it does for Xbox. Crossfire X last year, remember that game? Not a first-party game, but, you know, Xbox worked out a deal to make it exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. Can't even play the game anymore. The servers are shut down, even the single-player stuff. It's also potentially annoying if there is no deal involved, there is no money hatting involved, but these games are just choosing to skip the Xbox platform. That seems to happen more and more often nowadays. Can't play Genshin Impact on your Xbox. I don't know what happened with Octopath Traveler 2. You could play it on Game Pass, the first one, but now with the second one, you can't play it on your Xbox. So sorry if you got attached to that franchise. And also, most recently, they're doing a Final Fantasy anthology, like big, huge pack of a bunch of the old school games that is coming out on every platform except for Xbox, even mobile platforms. Whatever the situation situation is if, you know, upcoming Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and Castlevania games decide to skip Xbox for whatever reason. Yes, it's a bummer, but some people are calling it disastrous. I disagree. I don't think it's a disaster. Well, I guess not for me personally because, okay, they're all iconic franchises, Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and Castlevania. But I personally don't have a lot of history with any of those franchises. So if they decide not to come to Xbox consoles, I'm like, okay, I probably wasn't gonna play any of those games anyway. Truth be told, guys, the only Metal Gear game that I have beaten in its entirety is a game that came out on PSP. It was called Metal Gear Portable Ops. I've played a few others, but again, like, my connection to those franchises isn't as strong as many other people out there. And to be honest, when I learned that this upcoming remake of Silent Hill was going to be timed exclusive to PlayStation consoles, well, I was kind of expecting something like this. And another thing is that I've been guilty of this too a little bit, but we've been coming out and trying to portray Xbox as like some victim, like, oh, Sony's bullying them with timed exclusivity deals. Whatever is Xbox gonna do? They're only backed by Microsoft, which has a bajillion dollar market cap. I'm not saying that whatever PlayStation, Sony is doing with these deals is cool, but I recognize it's just part of the business. Again, Xbox, they've tried to do it themselves as well. Xbox needs a little bit of attitude, man. They need a little bit of like stank on it. We gotta stop being like, oh, Xbox, they're third place when it comes to platform holders. They'll never catch up with Sony in the console race. It's like, what happened, man? Xbox used to be cool. When I was growing up, my older brother had an Xbox and I had a PlayStation 2. And that thing had like, it was cool. It was edgy, man. It was like the more mature older brother cool console. And now they're like, oh man, like we'll never be able to compete because of like people's digital libraries. I know they're trying to downplay themselves because of all this Activision Blizzard stuff going on, but I feel like they need a little bit of attitude at this point. They need some big baller moves. But the thing is that I feel like they're trying, they're going for those big baller moves, but they're not always working out. You know, it's like, okay, you want to do these third-party money hat deals? We're gonna buy Activision Blizzard, but that's a big baller move if it works out, but it hasn't kind of materialized yet. It's like, yes, I want them to talk trash, be like, we're the premier destination for freaking shooters, for RPGs. You want RTS games? Come to our platform. If you don't buy our console, you're a loser. But if you talk that trash and you can't back it up, congratulations, you're Dylan Brooks, everyone hates you. But if you talk that trash and you stick the landing, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, all right, you're at least Draymond Green. You know what they should do, man? They should go back and get the whatever team worked on the marketing for Toonami and the old anime blocks for Adult Swim. Those guys could make the dumbest looking anime, the dumbest anime shows, and make them cool. They need to start, I know this is a very general thing, but having like a little bit of attitude, I guess. Like, oh yeah, you want to make a deal with Konami? I want to make a deal with, I don't know, Embracer Group, I guess? That's for them to figure out. Again, I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel, with a camera. Let's follow that up with some good news. We'll end this video on a good note because we got a permanent price drop on the proprietary Seagate SSD expansion cards. That is a lot of words. I'm sorry, guys. Now, if you're not familiar with this product, it is a little card that you can stick in the back of your Xbox and you magically have more storage and you can play games directly off of it. It is a nice little feature. It's convenient. But the problem is that this tech is proprietary and only one company makes it. That's Seagate. And so they have been able to charge whatever the hell they want, and they have. Up until this point, it's been $220 if you want an extra terabyte of storage, a little bit less than that if you want 512 gigabytes, and almost $400 freaking dollars if you want 2 terabytes, which is crazy because if you were to just buy a freaking SSD for your PC or even for your PlayStation, it's much cheaper. This past week, though, we saw a decrease in all of the prices. Now, if you want the 512 gigabyte card, that's $90. If you want the 1 terabyte, that's $150. And if you want the 2 terabyte, that's $280. That accounts for a 32% discount on that half gigabyte card and a 30% discount on the 1 and 2 terabyte cards, respectively. This is what I am talking about. It's not as low as I would have hoped for, but it is a nice step in the right direction. Only took 3 years, but hey, I'll take it. And it's just in time too, honestly, because a lot of these games, god dang it, they take up a lot of frickin' storage. But the ideal situation would be if other companies were allowed to make these storage cards, have some competition in that space so it can hopefully drive prices down even further. We gotta little whiff of this a couple of weeks ago. There was this card that showed up from Western Digital. It showed up on the Best Buy website, and it was like, oh, okay, are we getting some competition in the space? Another company moving in on Seagate's turf? But we haven't heard anything about that yet. And I've reached out to some friends at Xbox to kind of maybe see what's going on with that, and I haven't really heard anything about it. They're being kind of vague. They're like, well, it's not a first party thing, so you'd have to probably ask that company themselves, but they're playing coy with me, guys. Either way, good step in the right direction. It may not be the price that we want, but at least it's a pretty nice discount compared to what it was. I know a lot of people out there have figured out how to use the kind of chassis that the card comes in through a third party or like through wish.com. I got pretty close to it, not quite. I have an external drive that's not an SSD that I store things on, but it would be nice to have a cheap option, a first party option that you just plug into the back, don't have to worry about it, that won't break the bank. Anyways, guys, that's all the news I have today, so I'm gonna wrap up this video. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you in the next one.